All right, we are live again at the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I'm your host, Craig LeBlanc, with Jared. Is it? Am I? How do you pronounce your last name? Marsden.
Marsden. Yes,
Marsden.
sir.
Okay. He's in Brooksville, Florida, and he has got such an interesting career path and journey that we wanted to highlight, especially in light that we are starting to the creative team, all the video content creators for Parks and Rec, for the Daily Parks and Rec Show, are focusing right now, real time, on creating content for to be given to high school kids and college kids to consider Parks and Recreation as a career path. And Jared came from the bottom up, just groundskeeper for a golf course, all the way up to director. And so I really want to highlight his career because it just shows that there's more than one way to work yourself up to leadership in Parks and Recreation. So welcome to the show, Jared. How are you doing?
Doing good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad I can have you on. So yeah, take us back to that first. Well, you said when you were in high school, you started working for Parks and Rec, correct?
Well, in high school, I started on a golf course.
Hmm.
I started off as a laborer. I was the one edging bunkers and, draining them out after heavy rains and doing all the work other folks didn't want to have to do, running a weed eater, all day and stuff. Um, and I knew that I enjoyed being outside. I knew I enjoyed that avenue and that outlet. So I continued to work on golf courses. Worked my way from a laborer. I became the spray tech and the irrigation tech into an interim superintendent position. It was where my end was. I worked through being a mechanic as well. I wanted to have hands on of all aspects. And in the golf course world, you're everything. You're the plumber, you're the painter, you're the electrician. So, you get a very vast knowledge of stuff. And I went on to doing specialized treatments on golf courses.
Mm.
I was doing a lot of traveling, and the wife said, I'm tired of you traveling all the time. And I got it. So I says, let me look into doing something different. And there was a job that popped up, and it was a athletic field foreman. So my background in turf, it was a natural fit for me. Transferred into the park system over in the city of Oviedo and became their athletic field foreman.
Mm.
So, my main focus was the fields, and then that transitioned me into a superintendent, or I was superintendent there. Yeah, so it transitioned me to a superintendent of parks over there. And I kept, just enjoying the parks, getting my CPSI, getting my AFO, getting my CPO, getting the different certifications and stuff.
Yeah. Now, how important was it throughout your journey to have that in-person, hands-on experience?
I loved it. You got so much that you can do hands on, and you can learn so much actually doing it. Again, I'm not a college degree guy. So, you learn things, and a book will teach you what to do in a perfect world. It'll tell you, here's what you do X, Y, and Z. But when X, Y, and Z doesn't work, we still got to figure out a way around it. We've got to
Mhm.
get it working. So, that hands-on experience, it really goes a long way. And you can take and you can mold staff, and they'll learn things, and then they'll see how, okay, this part that I learned, it transfers over to here, and I can use it in this place.
Mhm. It's a lot of people know I'm a big Tesla fan. I own a Tesla, and right now they're trying to train the cars to be able to drive on their own without any assistance and without any images that they've gotten from the internet. But the Tesla master computer, or the has already consumed all content that's ever been uploaded. It's in the history of the internet, and the data set's not big enough. And they said that the largest data set is the cameras on the Teslas driving the road right now, because it's live, it's real, and it's the most accurate example of what it means to drive by yourself on the road.
Yeah.
So, of all the knowledges you can get out there in any field, Parks and Rec being one of them, you've got book knowledge, you can watch videos, you can go to training, but nothing is going to beat experiential knowledge. And I think, Jared, you're a perfect example of just like rolling your sleeves up and just doing the job you're asking people to do. And I imagine leading these people is so much easier, them knowing that you've been on side of them before.
It is. They know you're part of the team. They know that you're willing to put in the work with them, they give you a different kind of respect that I've seen, and they look at you in a different light, because now it's
Mhm.
not just somebody telling me what to do. They're doing it with me. I'm working along with them. I'm training them up from my experiences and helping them get experiences. And, one of my favorites is, I had a kid that I judged him when he walked into my office for his interview, came in with a big gold watch on and stuff. And he ended up, I knew he wasn't going to make his probation, but he ended up surprising me. He's still in the position. He's a crew leader there.
Mhm.
And he's doing a great job, but couldn't start a weed eater when we hired him on. But now he runs heavy equipment. He's running excavators and bobcats and backhoes and stuff like that. And, to see somebody mold into something like that it's great. That's what we do it for.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that story there, and it just goes to show that if you just, get in there and put in the time, put in the hours, that the experience is gonna mold you into what it needs you to be.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. And you got
there's
to take
really o Go ahead.
you got to take risks too. Like,
Yeah.
from the city of Oviedo, which is in Florida, it's nice and pretty in Florida. I knew I wanted that next step. And that took my journey to Kentucky as an assistant director. So I left my family and my wife and my son and I, we traveled in a fifth wheel and moved up to Western Kentucky in a fifth wheel for that next step. But we had to make the risks. Now I've
Mhm.
turned around and done it in reverse. They're still in Kentucky. I'm down here, and
Ah,
she's not happy because of the weather change. I'm down here sitting in shorts and a t-shirt, and she's still bundled
yeah,
up.
yeah.
We're waiting to get them back down here, but you've got to be willing to put those risks out there. You got to put yourself out there. Without a degree, for me to get to this director spot, I've been told no a lot.
Mhm.
And you can't let that break you. A lot of people, they can't take that no. Well, that no, that's what's driving me. That's fueling my fire. You're going to tell me no, but I'm going to show you that I can do it. I'm going to show you I can get to that spot.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep pushing.
Yeah, really all successes, at least this has been my experience, and some of my best memories and certainly my best lessons are built, within all of my failures.
Yeah,
I can't say I've learned much from my successes aside. It's just as my successes look like the result of all of my failures
exactly.
coming
Exactly. Your
together.
failures are where you learn.
That's right. What was it like taking that risk? So where did that come from? Were you born with that, or did you learn it along the way? Just
I'm not real sure. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Um, but I know in life you got to take chances. I've got a very strong mother. She raised me as mom and dad for my whole life, and
oh, mama.
yeah, I watched the struggles she took. So those struggles, I watched her go through it all, and I think that's where my work ethic comes from, and that's where my drive to keep succeeding, because I don't want my kids to struggle.
Mm,
I want to provide that life and for my family that she did what she had to do to make it work for us. But I want to do it that much better. So I've got that drive, and she would never ask anybody for help. So
mm,
me and mom have a strong relationship to this day. And I've got a very big appreciation for what she instilled on me. If you want it, you got to work for it. It's not going
mm.
to come to you. It's not going to be handed to you. You've got to get out there, and you've got to put the time in, and you've got to get after it.
What were some of those struggles that you watched her go through for y'all?
Again, mom, when her and my father got married, she was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. So she didn't have the degree. So I knew that I was going to have to work hard without a degree.
Mhm.
Um, Originally, a degree wasn't in my future. I planned to go to the military. That was my plan, but an accident stopped me from doing that. So I had to figure it out. Mom couldn't afford to pay for college for me. So unless I got a bunch of grants and stuff, but the path I was taking in life wasn't that school life. So that's where I was learning on the job, and it was like, I can do whatever I want with this knowledge that I have. I can push forward. I can, when it comes to fixing electrical, I can go be a handyman if I need to. I can do these different things that I need to do. Plumbing wise, bathroom remodels and stuff. Yep, we've done them. Working on a golf course, we've
Mhm.
done all the different things. So I've got that skill set. So I was able to watch mom struggle. Working late nights, not being able to get to our games and stuff because she's going in early morning, working late night, not getting the promotions because she doesn't have that degree, not being overlooked and stuff. No matter what her work ethic was, because in her time, degrees were a lot more meaningful than what I think they are at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, back then the knowledge was really stuck in a lot of the curriculums and books and classes, but today you can Google how to change a fuel pump on this lawnmower from this year, and it just is 5
Exactly.
videos on how to do that exact thing.
Exactly. YouTube University now.
That's right. And it's just getting to where knowledge in general is it's valuable, I guess, to be able to ask questions.
Yeah,
Now that we have this YouTube channel that's just a search bar, and you just type in the how do I, and then enter after after you.
exactly.
And now that you're starting to see with AI coming, that it can actually go through the whole internet for you, and you just tell the AI what you're trying to do, and then it just like spits out an entire, page of instructions for you.
And a lot of kids, I think, are leaning towards that technology end. But at the end of the day, you've got to have the mechanical behind it. If you don't
Mhm.
have somebody with that hands-on experience, the AI, it'll tell you how to do it, and everybody wants to program. But you still need somebody to fix the car. It's not going to go out there and turn a wrench by itself, no matter what AI
Right.
says.
Yeah, you still need something or somebody in the real world to
Exactly.
do what AI just told you to do.
Exactly. And I think that's one of our big issues right now facing the country is we're not pushing trades on kids like we used to do. If you're not going to college, you're going to a trade school used to be the big push. I think we need to get these kids more hands-on, more trade type stuff because everybody wants to make $1 million doing nothing. I mean,
Mhm.
but the reality is we need people that are going to fix the air conditioners, plumbing, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We need those hands-ons, fields, yeah, they got robo draggers and some robo painters now, but you still got to get out there and maintain fields and stuff. You got to
Yeah.
have that hands-on knowledge and that ability.
Yeah, and then you're also having to work with people. You're having to welcome people to your event. You're having to work with coaches. You're having to work with kids. Right now we don't have AI. Will not be currently throwing a ball, coaching a kid,
Exactly.
um, giving them a high five after they hit their first home run. And I think that's kind of what Parks and Rec do is they get the community off the computer and into the into their
Into the
parks.
real world. and,
Right.
and safety wise, you've got to have boots on the ground because you're
Mhm.
not going to find a safety hazard in a picture. You've got to be out there and you've got to be able to identify safety hazards in your parks because that's a big thing is we've got to be in front of safety or else it gets very expensive very quick.
We had a guy in Homewood, Jacob. He was on the show, I think last week, and he has two robots that cut the fields and two robots that paint. He loves them, and he
Yeah.
said they literally have taken 80 hours a week off of his plate. But he did not let the grass cutters and the guys that paint the field go. He actually put them on other tasks that were being neglected, from pressure washing to the little detailed stuff that the robot, yeah, can cut the field, but all this other detailed work. And now their parks are able to do this detailed stuff with the same labor that they just weren't able to do before. So it does open it might free up some hours for you here and there for maybe the repetitive mundane stuff, but then you redeploy your staff to do the things that are kind of more detail oriented.
I always compare it to the cake. We've got the layers of the cake built. We got the frosting on the outside. Now we got to put the flowers and the decoration on
That's
it.
right.
That's the problem that we have in parks. You never have the time and the resources for those flowers and decorations. You
Yeah.
got it, far enough, but you've got to figure out ways to make those resources happen.
Hmm. And the devil's in the details. It's like,
It is.
I mean, like this show right here, I'm on my 49th show, and I don't think I've started a show that didn't have a new technical problem. And maybe they repeat themselves just a little, but I know running a camp or having a baseball game is the same thing. There's always a concession stand popcorn machine that's not working, or some kid didn't show up, or the lights went out, or there's always something that
There's
happens.
always something that gets thrown in there that's going to make it just a little bit different each time.
Right. Right now, I just anticipate them. I'm like, I wonder what's gonna be the problem today. It's
Yeah.
coming. It's just, I wait for them.
Try to get ahead of them.
And back to your real world experience coming into this from high school. How do having that underneath you has got to be so beneficial to when your team faces problems. There's a good chance you've already run through all those problems because you went from the ground up. It's not going to catch
Exactly.
you off guard.
And the team, they look to you and they believe in your leadership at that point because you have been through it, and your decisions are quicker. Not everything, like you said, not everything's the same. No two problems are ever going to be the same, but you've been through enough of it that you can make that decision and you can be confident in the decision. So the
Mhm.
team's buy-in is way higher, I think, and they're like, okay, he's been through it, he's done this, so it makes sense.
Mm. Now, in a former life, before I was a podcaster and a video content creator, I was a master electrician for 20 years, and we only did service work, and we were the most expensive electrician in the city. And so
Yeah,
they wouldn't call us till pretty much no one else could fix the problem, and then they would ask for me or one of my master electricians to show up at a much higher rate and fix the problem. But I can't tell you how many times our guys would be like, "Well, how are we going to fix this?" And the answer was, "We don't know. We're going to go figure it out."
exactly.
And we just knew that we haven't left a job yet saying, "Sorry, we couldn't figure it out. Go hire somebody else."
Yeah.
And we're going to happen again today. So how much of that goes on to where you really don't have the answer, but we're going to figure it out.
There's every day we're learning. That's
Mhm.
what I try to tell my staff. I've told them I'm not going to do everything right. I'm still learning. I'm learning every day.
I love it.
People wise, process wise, I'm learning every day. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to man up and own when I've made a mistake. I will
Mhm.
admit I've made a mistake. I didn't understand. I've also let them know I don't need to be the smartest man in the room. I've got to be able to lead the team. That is my job, is to
Mhm.
lead the team. Where I might be weaker on the rec side because I did come up on the parks maintenance side, I lean on that professional that does that. Now I've done enough that I've got my CPRP, so I do have enough of an understanding that I'm not going to get snowballed in this. But I
Mhm.
lean on the people where that's their specialties, and the making of a good team is I lean on them, they lean on me, we cover each other's holes. Now we've got this great team with this broad knowledge of everything that we need to know, and then what we don't know, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. We had a saying among our group of service techs. We were like, look, we're not trying to be right. That's impossible. We're just trying to be less wrong than we were
Exactly.
yesterday.
Exactly.
Let's just go find that 2% um, thing that we can improve upon and just improve the company, the product, the team little by little each day. And over time, it's amazing how much ground you can cover when everybody is searching for those 1% and 2% improvements, staff wide.
Exactly. And I tell staff, I try to use things that they're gonna understand. And I said, if we're all sitting on the merry-go-round expecting the scenery to change, it's gonna keep coming around. We got to jump off the merry-go-round. We've got to get out and we've got to make the scenery change to what we want it to be. And they understand that and they get on board with that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you got to be the change that you want to see because you're going to be the one that, identifies the problem. But usually, at least in my experience, the person that discovers the problem oftentimes is the best person to come up with the solution to the problem.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Now, how do you go about, you said several times, it's all about the team. It's all about finding the right people. So walk us through that. I'd like to even know the journey of that process, not just how you do it now, but how that sounds like a lesson learned over a whole career. So if you could bring us through that journey.
It is, the wrong peg in the wrong hole, and it's not going to be productive. It's
Any
not.
examples of that? Of
Uh,
wrong peg and wrong hole?
there's been a lot of those, but finding that right person, and it's not always what's on their application. It's that feeling you get when you're talking to them. It's that
Mhm.
fire in their belly, which you can't put that on paper, but you can feel it when you're sitting across from somebody.
Yes, yes, you
Like
can.
like I was describing the one kid that I judge by, the big gold watch coming in. Um, in his interview, I could tell he was nervous, and I knew I was going to hire him because he just had something.
Mhm.
And I asked him if he had any upcoming vacations or anything. I needed to know about him ahead of time because during the probation they couldn't take him. And he says, "Well, I have a vacation with my family. We're going on a cruise." I said, "All right. So when is that cruise?" He says, "I'm not sure." I said, "Go ahead and call your grandma and find out." So
Yeah.
he called his grandmother in the middle of our interview, and she hung up on him. So I looked him in the face and I said, "You just hung up with your grandma and you didn't tell her you love her?" I said, "You know what I would do to be able to tell my grandmother one more time that I love her?" I said, "No, you need to call her back and tell her you love her." So he called her back in the middle of the interview. He's like, "Grandma, I love you." And she's like, "You're in an interview," and hung up on him again. And they still talk about it to this day. I'm still very close with him and his family, and
Yeah.
they still talk about that at Christmas dinners. But you can see with the little things that people do, their mannerisms, the way they act in the interview. Um, Sometimes you don't pick up on issues that end up happening, and you try to build them up, you try to help them, you try to get those actions corrected, but
Mm,
it doesn't always work. I've told staff, if we've got X, Y, and Z to get done, and there's 5 of us doing it and 2 of us watching, we don't need those 2 folks at that point. We need to have everybody pushing because this thing's got to keep moving. And they've told me before, you're okay with being short staffed. Absolutely, because we're doing the same work with the same amount of people, whether they're there or not.
mhm,
So you've got to be willing to make changes. You've got to be willing to work with the team. And you might have somebody that's over here mowing grass, and they're not real good at mowing grass. They're getting by, but you see they've got that fire for striping the field and dragging the field, and that's where you've got to look and okay, if we're failing them here, let's see if we move them here. And now they're a better employee. We're no longer failing them by having them in a position that's not right for them.
mm. And look, for the listeners, for those of you that don't know what the technical term of this is called, what Jared is displaying masterfully, and I can tell you it is built off of a career of doing this. It's called EQ, or emotional intelligence, and he has an extremely high emotional intelligence that you
Don't
only
ask
get.
my wife. She'll tell you I won't. I don't have it.
Well, and I can pick it apart a little. I've been a student of emotional intelligence, and it's self-awareness. It's listening more, not just with your ears, but with your eyes and body language. Sometimes it's just gut feeling. A lot of people point to that, but if you're managing people and you don't have good emotional intelligence, good luck. It's going to be a rough ride for you and the people you're leading. What are some other things, like you said, fire in the belly? That is something to look for. You can't. I don't even know if you can teach it. They either have it or they don't. But what are some other things similar to that you look for?
Again, it's mainly that feeling. Um, I like, especially in entry level positions, I like people with no experience.
Mm,
I don't have to train bad habits out of them. I know
love
they're
it.
not looking to make that instant jump to somewhere else. I know
Mhm,
that me putting my time and effort into them, they're going to put their time and effort back to me. Everybody wants somebody that's just turnkey. No, let's put the time and effort into these folks and let's get them to what we want them to be, because then they're not coming in with their bad habits, which might go against what you're trying to do and trying to break their habit. It's tough. So I love a no experience person. I mean,
mm.
and
Yeah, another one I've thought of, and maybe you can speak on this, but I try to look for people that are just hungry.
yeah,
That maybe have a thirst for knowledge, and
yeah,
they're kind of lifetime learners. And that's another one I look for, similar to fire in the belly.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, because when they're hungry, they're going to scratch. I'm a hungry guy. I'm a scratch and claw. I'm still hungry.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm glad the picture's not on my belly and people would tell me there's no way I could be hungry. But
Yeah.
I'm a hungry guy. I like to keep pushing. I'm big on keeping things in house. I know a lot of people are subbing stuff out, but if we keep stuff in house, we control costs. We control the outcome. Um, our delays are because of us. Our delays aren't because of a contractor.
Mhm.
We don't get that phone call. So, somebody that wants to learn how to do all these different kind of projects and stuff. Um, and somebody that brings just a little bit of knowledge to different projects, but still understands that they have learning to do, is a great person to have.
Mm. Yeah, so I see there is, there's both sides of Parks and Rec. You can have, let's outsource as much as possible, have a very lean staff, and just throw it out to bid, the grass cutting contract, and may the best man win. And that's kind of on one side of the spectrum. On the other side, you've got men like yourself that are wanting to keep it in house, have more control of the product, and and I think it's key to have someone like yourself in leadership for that to work.
Yeah. And I also know not everything can we do in house. There are times where we've got to throw it out there and say, "Hey, this is above our scope," or "We don't have the staff and we don't have the manpower." But again, if we can do it in house, we're going to save money for the citizens.
Mhm.
If we're out there mowing and stuff, we're going to make those relationships. And when somebody's in a park, you never know what their mental state is. You know, they maybe just got diagnosed with cancer or something, and they go to the park just to get away for a bit. But when they see your face out there and you wave to them, it's different than a contractor that's in there that's just, Joe Schmo's contracted. You get that personal relationship with them and you're smiling, hey, how you doing? Um, can make the difference to them. Like I said, they might have got some devastating news and they're there and you're the person that put the smile on their face.
Mhm.
You outsource it and you take that personal bit of it out. They know every day they're going to see this person over working at this park, so they, even if it's not a relationship where they formally know each other and stuff, hey, there's that same guy that I wave to every day and get a smile from.
Yeah.
So when you outsource it, it takes that personal effect out of it.
Yeah, and also, I think there's good and bad with both, but one of the good that I think came out of you being on staff and not being just a part of another company is you were able to work your way up through Parks and Rec, and now that what would have been a contractor employee now became a future director that
Yeah,
understood the system from the ground up. And so that, to me, that is a beauty is of having a staff that's doing as much as you can in the park system, is that these are your future leaders, and day one is sitting on 10 years of experience or however long it takes you to kind of, work through that leadership journey.
yeah. And I'm also one of these people. Some people are job scared. I'm not a job scared person. I am very open and transparent with my staff. If y'all want some knowledge, ask me. I'm going to help you understand my thought pattern. I'm going to help you understand why I do things the way I do them. I'm going to help you learn all my little tricks and tips. I had staff
Mhm.
one time ask me, "What are you going to do when you teach these young kids everything you know and they can pay them less and they take your job?" I said, "At that point, I've done my job. That is my job, is to bring that staff up to take my place if I move up, or if I
Mhm.
move on, so the organization doesn't take a big hit. I've got that staff that can fill into my shoes and you know run with what we've started."
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that is a fear that almost wanna guarantee does not exist. F If you're a good leader that's always learning and always teaching and always training up his people underneath him, there is, there we need more leaders like that at the top. There's always a shortage for that type of servant leader, and there's always a bigger and better and badder city that's looking for a leader just like that. So don't fear about, lifting up the people underneath you.
No,
Um, that's actually an asset. That is not a liability.
exactly. And you may be the only hand up they ever get. You may be the only one that helps them learn.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from the people that I've worked underneath. And they've shared their knowledge with me. I mean, I still am in contact with a lot of them, and I'll call them, "Hey, listen, I'm having this issue. Which way should I go with it?" And they'll do the same with me still. They'll
Mhm.
call me, "Hey, I've got X, Y, and Z going on. What's your thoughts on how I should handle it?" And when you network out like that, there's nothing you can't do.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is not a suggestion or an opinion or even a rule. This is what you call a law. It is called the law of reciprocity. The more you give, the more you get. So
Exactly.
when you're giving to people, investing in people, I've never seen that hurt the person doing the giving.
Yeah,
It always comes back. It finds a way back. And maybe you do lose your job, but you lost your job so that the best job you couldn't even think about opened up now so that you could take advantage of it.
exactly, exactly. If you'd asked me a year ago if I was coming back to Florida, I'd have told you no. I mean, I loved Western Kentucky. Family was all still down here, but we loved Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
But the job opened up, and I feel like I can make a change down here, and I can help grow this department and guide it in a good direction. So it
Yeah.
was time to come home.
So tell me about that job up in Kentucky. What did you do up there? And you were 4 years, you said? Did I hear that right?
3 years.
3
3
years.
years.
Okay.
Yep, I was the assistant director of parks up there. So we had an assistant director on the recreation side. I was over the park side, and we took care of 28 parks and a cemetery. And it was a cemetery from the 1800s. So it was quite an interesting place. Uh,
Hmm.
but managed the day-to-day operations and tried to get them set up for the future as well. And I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah. So it looks like you've attained a super high degree of mastery around maintenance and maintaining facilities. What can you give us, a top 3 rules or top 5 rules to consider when you're maintaining park facilities to all people listening that are new to this? Jared, I think, could probably put on a masterclass about maintaining facilities with your maintenance crews.
I mean, the first thing is you've got to empower your staff. If you don't have your staff empowered and trust them to make decisions and stuff,
Mhm.
you lose efficiency because now they're coming to you questioning everything. Let them make decisions, Um, the next one's let them make mistakes. Again,
Mm.
like we spoke earlier, you learn from your mistakes. Let them make mistakes as long as nobody's getting hurt and we're not tearing up stuff. Those mistakes got to be made because that's how they're going to learn and they're going to understand why it's being done in a certain way. Hmm.
Yeah, that's huge.
Put the
That
time
is
in,
huge.
you know.
I was just to add to that a little bit. I like how you said let them make mistakes. It reminds me of when your parent or sibling is teaching you how to drive, but they never let you, grab the steering wheel, or they're constantly saying, "Get out, let me show you how to do it." But when do you learn how to drive? When you're driving. I
Exactly.
mean, I have sat in. I'm sure we've all sat in a vehicle for 15 years, but when we start driving, it felt like we've never been in one before.
My
And
daughter
so,
just got her license on Monday, so
right. Maybe you can speak on this, but the goal as of a leader and a manager is not to get the job done. It's to create leaders.
exactly,
Y-
exactly. I don't. My staff, I've told them, you guys don't work for me. Yes, on the org chart, you work for me, but my job is to work for you. My job is to create safety. My job is to make sure you have a job to come to tomorrow. My job is to make sure, you guys go home in the same condition, maybe tired, but go home in the same condition you showed up. That is my job. My job is to protect you guys.
Mm.
So while, you know, on the org chart, yes, they work for me. My job is completely working for them to make sure that we keep moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I love that message. We need to just clip that one bit. Matter of fact, to my content video editors, clip that and make a short out of it. That is, we're going to take that message and run with it. All right, so we're going to do a maintenance Mondays on Mondays. We're trying to make it first Monday in February, but I would love to have you be a part of that. And maybe like a panel where we have a couple men like that, really just talking about field maintenance, maintaining facilities, maintaining community centers, and really especially everything you just said about building a team, what to look for, fire in the belly, lifetime learners, those type of qualities that you look for. And then maybe you can speak a little bit about, so how do you raise them up? How do you build leaders in them? What are some of the things, some of your little tricks that you do for that?
Again, you find it in that person. Just because they don't have leadership in their title, you're not a supervisor. You can still be a leader. You know,
Mm.
your maintenance one or your park attendant one or whatever we want to call them. They can be a leader. Your rec aide that is just out of school. Um, or still in high school, they can lead their team because people are natural leaders. You know, just because you don't have the title doesn't mean you're not leading the group. People will follow when they see people doing good things. So you empower those leaders and you keep letting them lead. You don't try to have a big head and, well, I'm the one that's leading this crew and push them down. You let them continue to lead because they're going to lead and help pick you
Mhm.
up. So you can, it's just a natural thing that you can see in people. They will naturally lead. And sometimes they're in their shell and they don't realize that they have that ability to lead. So,
Mhm.
you work with them and you help them build that confidence. You let them make the mistakes without any kind of penalty. I had a guy that got a tractor stuck because he was out mowing somewhere that hadn't been mowed in a while, and he didn't see it was still wet, and he thought he was going to get written up when I had to come pull him out. And I'm like, "Why? You were trying to get your job done. Now, if you got stuck 3 times in the same spot in 2 days,
Mhm.
we're going to have a chat." But you're trying to get the job done. Make these mistakes. And people just naturally will follow people doing the right thing. They'll follow
Yeah.
the ones doing the wrong thing too. But if you start nipping that quick enough, you catch it before it becomes a problem, then
Yeah.
you move forward.
It reminds me of a story. I can't remember where I heard it. It's one of the old classic books, like either Think and Grow Rich or How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was one of those old books of leadership. And it was this world famous trick pilot that would, you know, fly and do all the flips and twirls with the smoke coming behind the plane and stuff. And he had this little guy, this little young guy that was preparing his plane, make sure it was fueled up right, did all the safety checks, and he messed up on the fuel. The plane dumped its fuel or ran out of fuel or something, and he had to make a crash landing, almost killed this world famous pilot. And this guy was just knew he was going to get berated, fired, never be able to work in the industry again. This little guy that was, and the famous pilot walks up to him and says, "I don't ever want anyone but you to prepare my planes for flight, because I know after that you will never make that mistake again."
Exactly, exactly. And you've got to allow your staff to talk.
Mm.
Um, a lot of people are afraid to speak up to their management. You know, I've always had a very clear, very open door. You can come in, you can tell me whatever you want. Make sure you're respectful in front of people. But if you really feel like you need to blow up on me, let's go close the door somewhere, blow up on me, get it out of your system so that we can move forward, you know?
Mhm.
If you don't have that kind of a communication system with them, they're going to hide things. They're going to let things fester, you know? I had one guy that absolutely blew up on me one time because I told him, you know, if you needed to, do it. And a few months later, he did. And I said, okay, are you done? Is there anything else? And he goes, no, I guess I'll go pack my stuff. And I said, why? I said, you did it respectfully enough. You know, you did
Mhm.
it away from other folks. You got it out of your system. Do you feel better? And he's like, I do. And I said, okay, now back to work. And off I went, you know. So you've got to allow for people to get those frustrations out, or else it sits there and festers, and then that's going to
Mm.
poison your entire well, you know.
Man, I don't know where you picked this up from, but that is huge. I'm studying a guy named Michael Singer right now. He teaches a lot of this stuff, and I can't tell you how often in my life I would take things personal when someone would blow up on me, not realizing that in the background of their life they were dealing with something super hard right now, and it just came out in our conversation. And so I've had to learn to just like you're doing, sit back, relax, let them get it out. That's going to help them. And it'll probably really boost that relationship, because you were probably the only man in that guy's life
Yeah,
that wouldn't have fired him.
exactly, exactly. I was at a conference not too long back, and they put Q-tips on everybody's table, and I'm like, Q-tip doesn't make any sense. So when he got around to it, he said, now everybody pick up your Q-tip. So we did. And he said, quit taking it personal. That's what the Q-tip means. Quit taking it personally. They're not attacking you. They're attacking the situation. They're attacking whatever's in their background, you know? So
Mhm.
that one's resonated with me. I mean, I've always had to blow up on me away from people, but
Mhm.
to actually think about it's not personal, you know, it takes a bit because
Yeah.
a lot of times they're going to attack you personally because you're in front of them, you know, but
Mhm.
they don't mean it towards you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really not it's not and really the moment you're having with this person that's super stressed out, that moment is built off of a lifetime of things that you had nothing to do with, all the way from childhood and maybe even his heritage, you know,
Yeah.
that just it's just all culminating in this human freaking out right now at this very moment. And so you have an opportunity to say, how can I make this moment better? Or you can flip out right alongside of him and both of y'all just have a big old
Exactly.
big
And you're
talk.
both looking for a new job, you know?
Right. You can be rolling on the ground with him.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you know, you got to have thick skin to be in this business.
Yeah.
Because again, parks, we don't make money for the cities. I mean, we don't charge people to go into the bathrooms and then charge them double to get back out of them or anything. You know, we
Mhm.
are what costs the city money. So a lot of times city councils and stuff look at that, and we're the we're not getting the new equipment because we're not bringing in the revenue like, you know, the water department and stuff. So we've got to find those ways to prove to them why we're here. You know, in my interview, I said people don't move to a city because of the streets or because of the drainage. You know, that's not what they look at. They're moving to that neighborhood because you've got a great park over here. You've got this great community center right around the corner. Or we offer these programs for folks.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've just got to keep our staff understanding. We've got to prove why we're here, you know, and we've got to keep that skin thick for when people start to getting after us, that
Mhm.
we don't let it get to us and we don't let it kill that fire that we have.
You know, one of the things I'm having my video content creators create, um, we're really focusing on, why to choose a career path in Parks and Rec. But there's another topic that's bubbling up to the top, and I know it's going to make it in one of our creation rounds. And it's, how do you explain the value that Parks and Rec gives to a community that's not some monetizable thing like tourist economy or sports tourism or a fee-based economy? Um, and I really want to try to get everybody's like opinion on that, or what they're seeing on that, because it seems to be a reoccurring message, is that you're having a hard time getting funding because you're not making money. And then I would like to help everyone with the messaging on, yeah, but there's a reason why the value of a house around a park is higher than the value of a house around a sewer treatment plant.
Exactly.
We all need sewer in all of our homes, but who wants to live next to one versus who wants to live next to the park?
Yeah.
What are the other values you think parks bring to a community that are not, fee-based?
It brings health to your community. I mean, you've got to have people outside exercising. It brings a sense of community. You get to see your neighbors, not when you're sitting in your house, but when you're out at the park walking around. That sense of community when you're at the ball game and the two rival teams are playing each other, even though they're rec league, or they're a travel ball team in there. You get to see the folks that you haven't seen in a little while. So it brings that sense of community out there, which makes a community stronger, because everything is so electronic and keeps you inside anymore. So getting outside, spending time with folks, especially during the COVID times and stuff, that may have been the only time you saw another human, was when you were outside in the park.
Mm-hmm. Now, do y'all do any special events for your city?
I'm 3 weeks and 2 days into this job, so I'm trying to figure that part of it out. We have a special events person, so it looks like we're starting to roll some in. We work with a lot of outside entities, Main Street and stuff like that, for special events now, but we're looking at how we can change and grow and make things, event wise, internal, as well as work with those outside people.
Yeah, really. And I want to drive that point home about how important parks are to our communities and our systems, and that if anything, for those that are funding this, or if you're a large gift benefactor to your city, like, please consider Parks and Recreation if you want to invest in your community. These people, like Jared, are installing and maintaining things that can last hundreds of years, but that need to be maintained on the way. But they're thinking very long term for your community. And maybe, Jared, if you can help me think of some of the moments that are captured similar to a grandparent pushing a grandchild on a swing at a park. What are some of the other things you're seeing happening in your park that are lifetime memories for the community?
If you close your eyes right now and you think of a park, you hear kids giggling and laughing and having a good time. You hear that swing making that swing noise, those are memories that are going to last. There might be a father and son that are split, living in a split home, and the only time they get to spend with each other is throwing that ball out there, and that's going to stick with that kid. They're going to remember those good times flying a kite out in the park. I mean, when's the last time any of us just stopped and flew a kite? And it's a simple thing. I remember doing that with my grandparents. I remember doing that with mom, because it was a cheap entertainment way. We went out to the park, we flew a kite for a while. Flying kites in parks is hard to find anymore. I haven't seen one in a while, because you've got so much development coming in around parks. But you got those core memories of the baseball games, and you hit that home run and mom and dad were there to see it. So you've got all those memories, but then you've got the memories of the elderly that are sitting at the bench just watching nature go by and reflecting on the life that they've had, and just seeing that's magical, listening to those smiles, or not smiles, but listening to the laughs and the giggles and seeing the smiles on people's faces and spending time with them. That's a big thing. I recently stuck my foot in my mouth here and was able to spend some time with one of our ageless athletic classes. I was introduced to them. Like I said, I'm new here, so I got introduced to them, and their first question was, "When are you coming to work out with us?" I said, "I'll do it tomorrow." not thinking they had a class. So the instructor looked at me. She goes, "You know, we have a class tomorrow." I said, "I'll bring my gym bag." So I came in the next day, and when they got here, I changed and I went out and I did the exercise with them. And, you know, it just was an enjoyable time that I spent with people I would have not spent time with.
Yeah, I love it. What a great story. Well, Jared, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing with us your journey, especially from the ground up, and then how you think about building your team. I'm hoping to get you on one of these Monday programs to just continue that conversation and really help, people that are standing in your shoes to be able to lead better, hire better, manage better. I think you're doing a great job over there.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll be in touch with you. Try to rope you in on that Monday thing, and
Sounds good.
appreciate you joining us.
I appreciate your time.
All right, man. Take
We'll
care.
talk to you.
Yeah. All right. So that was Jared over at Brooksville, Florida. What a great guy. Tons of experience there, and the kind of experience I think you want to look for in a leader. I'm sure many of you maybe remember an old series called Band of Brothers. I think it was Lieutenant or Colonel Winters, and he was just reminds me of Jared a lot. A guy that found himself in quite a high leadership position in World War II, and the men would just go to war for him because he was in the trenches with them. And Jared is one of those kind of leaders that leads by example. And that's really what it takes. If you're going to do one of these park systems that has a lot of stuff in house, better have a good leadership in charge of them. Better find yourself somebody like Jared to lead them, because it reminds me of this old. I think it was an Egyptian painting. It probably wasn't just. There's management and then there's leadership, and leadership is a guy down helping the guys pull the big stone, and management might be somebody that's cracking a whip over the slaves and telling them to go faster. And so I think leadership is what we need more of in parks and recreation. And I love how Jared came up without a college degree as an alternative path. And as I was going over, let me see if I can find the park and rec director's name. I had a great talk with Molly. Shout out to Molly and Darren McCarthy over at Fort Bend County. Was it Sarah? Let me see. I think it might have been Sarah. Sarah, I hope this is you. It was over at Fort Smith is the one I think. Oh, I know where I can find it. Here we go. I'll have to look it up later. But anyway, I think it was Sarah that told me she was going on and on about how, yes, they know it was Sarah. It was Sarah over in, I think it was Fort Smith, Arkansas. And she was saying how she went from a Ferris wheel operator to a director. So she came up in the special events, like the fair that the city runs. And she was going on and on, like Jared, about how college degrees, it's not that they don't have their place, but that there are multiple career paths that you can come up from high school, like Jared, never have gone to college, and find yourself working yourself up, leading in one department, and then moving up, and then making it to where you're leading the entire department as a director. And she went on and on for what, 10, 20 minutes in our phone call prep work for this video. And then she just dropped very casually at the very end. She's like, and I'm getting ready to finish my PhD dissertation. So this is somebody that has already gone through her master's, finishing up her PhD, graduated with undergrad, and still went to bat for her superintendent that did not have a college degree, because he had the goods, had what it took, that she wanted her on the team, or this guy on the team. So I can't wait till she comes and tells that story to us. Very similar to Jared's. And now the content creators at the Daily Parks and Rec Show have finished up our round two. Our round two was on career paths. If you listen to the end of this, this live here, I'm going to post one of the ones that they finished. I think it was think it was, hold on. I want to give credit to the artist that made this. And so it was round 2. I think this is Trixie. So Trixie created this minute and 7-second video for the Daily Parks and Rec show, focused um, on a career path, and it was pretty good. And we've actually got a couple, and we even have a one that was the actual winner of the show, Catherine. I think I'll do hers on Monday. But we just finished up. They did 5 in all, 5 really good videos on career path. We're going to post them all, and they'll start to close the end of every one of our videos here live. And I really want to start getting some feedback. I've also reached out to some people, Sarah and Molly and some others along with them, that are going to really help dial in that that piece of content. And here's why. So when's the best time to consider Parks and Rec as a career path in front of a person? I mean, think of the 6-month period when you're considering this. It's usually at the end of your senior year in high school, junior year in high school, where you're starting to send out your applications for or consider what college you want to go to, maybe even go tour a few, start thinking about what's the major you want to pursue. And right now, I think we can all say that Parks and Recreation is a discovery major. So for those who don't understand that term, discovery major means you start off in pre-med, or you start off in law, and you realize, yeah, this is just not for me. And then you start, by process of elimination, start looking around after you've spent a year or 2 in college. Maybe some of those credits transfer, maybe they don't, to your new major. And then lo and behold, you discover Parks and Rec as a degree. And so we want to move it out of, and the Daily Parks and Rec is going to do its part in moving Parks and Recreation out of the discovery major and into a major that you pursue from high school. Like, I'm going to this college because they've got a fantastic Parks and Rec degree, and that's why I'm going there. And my freshman year is all going to be geared towards that. And we're gonna take Parks and Rec out of this discovery major category. And so here's one of the ways we do it. And this is why I think it can be done, and why Parks and Recreation is the industry that's so qualified to be one of the major degrees at universities. Is because where are these high school kids working? How many of you had a part-time job working a concession stand, assistant coaching, lifeguard, cutting grass? These were your summer jobs from like 16, 17, 18. Sometimes you've got these kids in your park systems. The director can go give part of the orientation, and we want a great video that's maybe a 60-second, 180-second promo commercial for Parks and Recreation as a career path that you can just press play. That's it. We'll make it. We want y'all's help and input designing it. And then across America during orientation for the summer jobs that you have for your community. And it is not a small number of people. For those of you who don't know this, nearly all the Parks and Rec departments, they go from having 20 employees, 30 employees to 3 and 4 times that many employees during the summer to manage all of their summer programs, their camps, their swimming pools. They need lifeguards, they need grass cutters, and you name it. And so your staff population swells up during this part-time staff that you need during the summer. And these are the high school kids. These are your future leaders that are getting ready to go pursue college degrees for what? Now, we know not everybody can be a surgeon, not everybody can be a high-power attorney and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of kids discover that that's really not what they want, but they don't discover it till after they put 1 or 2 years in, and now they're looking for something that maybe is a little better fit for their life. And so if we can catch them during that orientation period, and by the way, this is not my idea. This is the Auburn director that I met. I can't believe it. I'm definitely going to look up her name because she did such a great job. All right, I go to library. Let's see. Thank y'all for your patience. Here we go. It was Allison Hall. Allison Hall, I believe. Yeah, I believe she was the Park and Rec director over at Auburn. That's where I was last week. Please go watch all of our interviews. I think we had 13 interviews from ARPA. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Robin, all the people that put on the Parks and Rec um, annual convention for the Alabama Recreation and Park Association. That was started on Monday of last week. So I just gotten back from that. That's why I missed yesterday. I apologize for missing yesterday's show. I was just wiped. Um, but yeah, anyway, Allison came up with this idea of having a piece of content that all people in charge of orientation, their orientation is a week long. Now, some people they push it in HR, so the HR department handles the orientation. Here's the rules. Here's how you get paid and stuff. But a lot of you don't. You have a true orientation of how to be a camp counselor, how to be a lifeguard. Here's some safety stuff, and play. Here's this 3-minute video for you to consider as a career. Here's some colleges that offer it. And then we're going to have part of our YouTube channel is going to be a video library about students that are in these degrees. And we want to make sure also that we have enough people like Jared that are also saying, hey, maybe just come out of high school, start working for Parks and Rec and get into the maintenance crews or get into managing or working with the pool facilities or the community centers or get into coaching. And there's so many career paths that end up in leadership at the director level. So there's really no one size fits all kind of stuff. But the key is to just raise awareness to that high school, junior, senior age person that's considering that, to pull Parks and Rec out of this discovery major and into a major that you pursue from high school forward, and to really start to seek the universities or the career paths that have that in mind. Start with the end in mind, and if we can just have kids consider a place that they're typically already working. I know that my first and my only job in life was cutting grass for Mr. Raggy Alexander, who's now passed away, and he was the Park and Rec director of West Baton Rouge Parish in Louisiana. And I loved him as a boss and had probably the best time of my life just cutting grass, cutting baseball fields on a 0-degree turn Gravely lawnmower. They cut like 6 or 6.5 feet at a time. Loved it. I just put in my Sony Walkman with the, remember the orange ones that you had the tape, and I had like AC/DC playing all summer. So I don't know if any of you else grass cutters had that experience, but I loved it. That was one of the best jobs of my life. Talk about just peace out there on the field. So that can be your career path to leadership, or you can pursue a degree. Either one works. Just maybe put Parks and Recreation as that. Now, if you want to make a difference, if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to make an impact in your community, I can't think of a better field to work in than Parks and Recreation. These people are the stewards of some of the most beautiful property in our community, and they're actually building the communities real time. This is not something they aspire to do. This is something they've been doing for 100 years straight, and they're doing a great job doing it. They're in charge of making sure that all of our kids have their first home run, their first catch, their first high five coming across the plate, learning how to swim, making friends, spending time with their grandparents. This is what these people are in charge of, and running these facilities that do this and the teams that do it. So appreciate all the work that y'all are doing. Let me know what y'all think of this 1 minute and 7 second video that we're getting ready to start right now after I finish up here that Trixie made. Appreciate your work, Trixie. And we've got a lot of other ones coming like this. Thank you for all the love and support. Thank you, Alabama, man. They rolled out the red carpet for me. They let me run a podcast from morning to night, every single day, up until the closing ceremony. Next week, I will be live from Mississippi's Recreation and Park annual meeting in Natchez, Mississippi. So if you are listening to this and you're from Mississippi, please come by and just say hello. I'll be doing live interviews the whole time, just like I did in Alabama. I'm looking forward to spending some time with y'all and seeing how y'all do it in Mississippi. And I mean, what a great city, Natchez. For those of you who hadn't been, it's like the Airbnb capital of America. I think it is the most picturesque little town. It overlooks the Mississippi River on this huge bluff. It's stunning. So hopefully one day you can visit it. But we will be there to, starting. I want to say it's not this coming Monday, but the following Monday is day one. So we'll be airing the daily Parks and Rec show from there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think we might go home on Thursday. I'm not sure, but look forward to doing that for Mississippi. Thank y'all so much for inviting me over there, and look forward to serving the community. So getting ready to press play on Trixie. This is Craig LeBlanc with the daily Parks and Rec show every day. Well, weekdays, 12 noon Eastern. And Jared, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Love your testimony. Keep up the great work. And I will see y'all here again on Monday. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Today, we'll discuss how parks and recreation improve the well-being of our communities. These spaces promote healthy living, foster connections, and support local economies. Parks encourage active lifestyles by offering areas for walking, running, and cycling, while also improving mental health by reducing stress and boosting mood. They also strengthen communities by providing gathering spaces for local events, social interactions, and recreational programs. Economically, parks contribute over $140 billion annually. They support businesses, create jobs, and even raise property values, benefiting both the community and local economy. Parks are accessible to everyone, with inclusive programs for all ages and abilities, ensuring everyone can enjoy these spaces. You can help support parks by volunteering, donating, or simply visiting. Every action ensures parks thrive for future generations. Thank you for watching the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Follow us for more insights on how parks enhance our communities.